Hello and welcome to today's episode of Filling the Gap, your one-stop shop for Pacers Gap Year coverage. I'm your host, Andrew Schreiner, and today we're breaking down the Pacers' busy weekend in which they fell in both games of a back-to-back against Denver and Golden State. So before the weekend even started, before the games got started, they got some good news. Andrew Nembhard was back in action, finally recovered from his shoulder sprain sustained in the season opener against Oklahoma City. But unfortunately, his return was not enough to spark the Pacers to a win in either game. They lost in Denver 117 to 103 and followed that up Sunday night with a loss in Golden State 114 to 83. And both games had a lot of similarities. They started slow in both and shot very poorly throughout. And that's been a constant theme for the Pacers this season, but it was extra noticeable in both of those games. They shot 35.5% from the field against Denver. They shot 34% from the field in Golden State. Neither was good, neither performance that interesting. And so for this episode, I thought rather than going through both games in detail and highlighting, noteworthy performances, giving an analysis, I thought I would give just an update of kind of where the Pacers are at 10 games into the season now and give kind of my thoughts on the team and where things stand now and how they look going forward. I will note from the games, though, Nembhard returned, but Siakam and Nesmith both sat out against Golden State. Siakam sat out due to rest, just on the second night of a back-to-back. He's been shouldering a pretty heavy load, obviously, with the injuries to other key players on the team. But Nesmith was out with a right forearm contusion, which was sustained going for a rebound. He came down awkward in the game against Denver. And so I don't expect that will keep him out long term, but it was disappointing he wasn't able to follow up what was a pretty good night for him against Denver. He had over 20 points with a game against Golden State. So rather than going through both of those games in great detail, I thought we'd just focus on some reasons for pessimism and reasons for optimism after 10 games. I'm going to start with the reasons for pessimism because, one, they're more obvious, and two, they're not where I want to finish. So the most obvious reason for pessimism is that the team is 1-9. You know the saying, you are what your record says you are. And right now their record says that they are the worst team in the NBA, or tied for the worst team in the NBA. They've lost to one of the other teams they're tied with, the Brooklyn Nets. They don't look like a good basketball team right now. They are not winning games. And that's largely because the offense is terrible. The team is last in the NBA in field goal percentage by 3.4%. They're the only team right now shooting under 40%. In fact, they're the only team shooting under 43%, and they are all the way down at 39.6%. They're last in three-point percentage as well, though the margin's closer, and they're 29th in points per game. The only reason they're above the Mavericks in points per game is because they are number one in rebounding. They're getting some extra possessions, but their efficiency is so poor on offense that they are not able to do enough with the extra possessions they have to offset their poor shooting. And the third reason for pessimism is that it does seem like the trend is downward. It seems like maybe you're starting to see some discouragement creep in with the injuries. Their last three games have not been particularly close, including the loss to Brooklyn, which is a game you absolutely should win at home. They lose Cam Thomas early in the game. That was by far the worst loss of the season, though they've lost other games by a wider margin. But like I said, I think there are reasons for optimism as well. Though the team is at 1-9, I don't think fans should be ready to quit or should start checking Tankathon right now. And the first reason is that Pascal Siakam is playing at an all-NBA level. Before the season, this was a lot of the conversation is how good can Pascal be as the number one option, and he has delivered. He's averaging, through the 9 games he's played, 24.3 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 5.8 assists. He is leading this team, as he's been asked to do, and he's doing it well. The only blip on his resume has been free throw shooting. But aside from that, he's doing everything that you could ask of him. They also, second reason for optimism here, they have a tough schedule. Before the season started, before we knew all these players were going to sustain injuries, we knew that they were going to have a tough start. These first 12 games, you have 2 Western Conference road trips, playing a lot of playoff teams from the year before, projected playoff teams this year. I think you look at their first 10 games, and with all 10 of their with all of their guys healthy, they might be 4-6 in those 10. I think that's completely reasonable expectation, and so 4-6 feels very different than 1-9. But ultimately, 3 games at the end of an 82-game season, there is time to make that up over the remaining 72. And with that, speaking of having all their guys, these players are going to start to return. Kind of our third reason for hope, third reason for optimism here. Players are going to get healthy. They're going to be better. TJ McConnell is now slated to make his first appearance this season against Utah. Matherin will be back. The players coming off the bench will return in time. Obi Toppin is the only one with a prolonged absence planned, aside from Halliburton, of course. And so as players return, the offense is going to get better. They are going to become a better basketball team as they get healthy, and these close games that they've been losing because of their poor offensive efficiency can turn into wins, even against good competition that they're playing. And so, and their schedule becomes easier, right? They get more games against Brooklyn. They get games against Charlotte, against the Bulls, who started really hot but now have sort of come back to earth. Games against a lot of these Eastern Conference teams that are just weak. The Eastern Conference is not particularly strong this season. And so I do think there is room for this team to turn it around, but it needs to happen soon. As the Pacers continue their Western road trip with a matchup against the Utah Jazz on Tuesday. That tips at 9 o'clock Eastern. The Jazz are 3-6, so this is a winnable game. They're led by Lauri Markkanen, who is a decent player, but playing above his expectations so far this season. He's currently averaging 28.3 points per game, so it'll be interesting to see him on our own screen, see him with our own eyes, as to how he looks this season and whether the Pacers are able to contain him. So thank you for watching today's episode. Hopefully you were able to find some reasons for optimism. If so, be sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you next time.